Your wife is resentful, bitter, or angry at something that you did, her first instinct will be to withhold sex. You cannot build deep connection on silence, or you cannot build deep connection where there is avoidance. And faking it trains you to disconnect. You will not experience passion and connection and joy and fulfillment that sex was designed for in marriage if you are. Today, we're going to dive into taking your physical intimacy with your spouse from performance to passion. So if you are just connecting, going through the motions, or not connecting at all and desiring to create passion in your marriage, this video is for you. So we're going to go through 4 points today. I'm going to give you a high level, and I would challenge you to listen all the way through because each one of these matters. So the first one we're going to dive into is taking ownership of your pleasure. And this video is for male and female, and I'll tell you why in a second. Secondly, we're going to talk about stop just showing up and start being present and attuned to what's going on with your spouse. Stop saying yes when you mean no. And stop numbing out and start checking in. So getting into point number 1, take ownership of your pleasure. So the challenge is to stop pretending that everything is fine when it is not. I've talked to husbands and I've talked to many wives, and they pretend that everything is okay and just settle for the minimum in their relationships. Husbands, I will tell you right now, if your wife is resentful, bitter, or angry at something that you did, her first instinct will be to withhold sex. So if you are not getting the sex and physical intimacy that you desire in your marriage, I would challenge you to not just give up and say, well, I'm never going to get it, which is what I hear so much on my Instagram, my TikTok, on these YouTube videos. Men are just like, well, it hasn't happened for 30 years, so it's going to be that way. And it does not have to be that way. Are you willing to lean into the hard and push through to work through those resentments? And ladies, the men say, well, she doesn't want to talk about it and she controls it and she just shuts it down. And so for you, I want to challenge you. Sex is not just for your husbands. It was designed for you also. You have a body part on your body whose only purpose is pleasure. And you can make sex wrong and bad and think it's, just gross and just all of that. And it was designed for you also. So are both of you willing to stop pretending like everything is okay? Keep yourself busy with work, with the kids, with all the things going on, and start having real conversations. You cannot build deep connection on silence. Or you cannot build deep connection where there is avoidance. And so are you willing to take ownership of your own pleasure? So whoever is not satisfied in the relationship, are you willing to lean in a deeper level? And this might be where some of you will say, you know what? Nope, I'm not willing to go that far. They need to do it. They need to do this. And is that getting you anywhere? See, Skylar and I had a transformational moment regarding this. He asked if we could do a 30-day challenge to connect every single day. Right before he asked that, the 2 weeks prior, it was some of the busiest 2 weeks that we had. He ran an event for men, and then he left to go do something, and it was just really, really busy. So I was feeling disconnected from him, and he was feeling frisky. And he's like, hey, babe, why don't we connect for 30 days straight? You want to do it? And my first answer was, nope, I don't. And I probably said it with way more of an attitude. I was like, nope. 100% not interested. And when we talked about it, he happened to be in the shower and he said he noticed himself starting to get pissed in the shower. Like, what? I do all this stuff for her. I do this for her. I do this for her. I do this for her. How could she say that? Right? And that's maybe where some of you are at. You're like, listen, I bring home money, or I help around the house, or I do this, because not all men have the higher drive. Sometimes women have a higher drive. But he started to go victim to it. He started to go angry, frustrated, resentful. He started to immediately begin to shut down. And if he would have stayed there, he would have created disconnection in our relationship. And instead of going to the victim place, he said, you know what? I play a role in this. If Jessica's not willing to lean in that way, and normally she is, then I must be missing something. If she's not willing to lean in, there must be a part that I'm playing in this. And I know that this is where most men or some women would shut the video off. They're like, nope, not willing to go there, because what he did next was so powerful. He said, hey, babe, I want to take you out on a date night. I'd love to talk to you. And he said, I know that I must be missing it with you somehow, because normally you're willing to lean in. So how can I show up for you differently? What? Right? That is not that most men would push harder, like, well, this is what I need, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But he was willing to humble himself, maybe when he didn't even need to be humbled. But he was willing to allow space for me to step in. He didn't push me into the space. He invited me into the space. And after that conversation, unfortunately, that challenge still did not happen. However, we were connected, and we connect regularly, and I lean into him. So are you willing to step into your own pleasure and take ownership of your pleasure in the relationship? And maybe that might mean you leaning in another way first, so that you can create a give and take in the relationship. See, couples are in this stance often when I meet them of, well, when they show up for me, then I'm going to show up. And that often doesn't work. I would imagine if that's you, comment below that you might want them to show up first. Maybe you just give me a thumbs up so we know we're on the same page, that you're waiting for them to show up. And what if it was you that needed to lead first? You that needed to humble yourself, forgive, lean in, and give even when they don't deserve it. So point number 2, from going to performance from performance to passion in your relationship, is stop just showing up and start being present. So I'm going to talk to both sides here. So husbands, is your wife's pleasure a priority? Does she know that you're willing to warm her up, to be romantic, to show up for her, to make sure she experiences pleasure? Or does she experience you in intimacy just in it for you? Are you just focused on you getting your needs met? Because if you are just focused on you getting your needs met, she might be reluctant to go above and beyond for you. So would you be willing to lean in first? And ladies, you weren't created to perform, you were created to connect. So sex should not feel like a transaction. And if it is feeling like a transaction, you have a lot of control over that. See, I had to learn that I could say yes and say yes all the time. And that worked for Skylar, but that didn't always work for me. Sometimes it made me feel like I was objectifying myself. And so I had to get present with, okay, so what would I need in order to be willing to connect? Do I need to have 10 minutes alone? Do I need to take a bath? Could you massage my back? How could I get into the mode of connection? And I understand that hormones play a lot into this, but I had to really be aware of, okay, it's not his responsibility to manage my turn on. It is my responsibility to pay attention, and we need this. It is not a one-sided thing in the relationship that he needs it or I need it. We need it. You both need it. God designed in our brains for oxytocin, for hormones to flood your brain, connection hormones, love hormones, glue hormones to flood your brains after you have physical intimacy. I would challenge you, even if you say, I don't need it, maybe you don't need it because you've shut that down so long in bitterness and resentment that, yeah, now like you don't want it. But I would challenge you that your relationship absolutely needs it. And so if you've been withholding this from your spouse, would you be willing to start to lean in? And will you take responsibility that it's not just a transaction, because you make sure that it's not just a transaction and you are willing to show up? So that would come with point number 3, stop saying yes when you mean no. So ladies, I don't know, Skylar, this point might not apply to him. He says yes all the time, right? He is always ready. And women, some of you are saying yes when you actually mean no. And faking it trains you to disconnect. You will not experience passion and connection and joy and fulfillment that sex was designed for in marriage if you are faking it. And no won't work all the time either. It is one of the biggest comments I get on my social media when I'm talking about physical intimacy. Ladies, saying no for an extended period of time opens your husband up to spiritual attack. The Bible says to abstain from sex when it's agreed upon for a period of time so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. If not, you are opening yourself up to attack from the enemy. And so I would imagine that you want your husband to be faithful to you, not only with his body, but with his mind and with his eyes. And he is opened up to spiritual attack when you repeatedly and repetitively say no to him and deny connection with him. See, you are his sole legitimate source of sexual satisfaction. If he's a godly man, you, his wife, are his sole legitimate source of sexual satisfaction, and he needs you. So the repetitive no doesn't work. So if that means you need to have a conversation with him, work through some resentment, come to a Rise Up Queens event, wink, 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 I'd love to have you to work through some of that stuff so you can bring your walls down and be willing to connect. That is your responsibility. I'd love to come alongside you in some of that. So stop saying yes when you mean no. And lastly, I would challenge you to stop numbing out and start checking in. So stop numbing out and start checking in. So if you feel nothing during sex, I would challenge you to check in. When did you shut down? Or are you making the kids a priority more in your mind than you are your husband? See, I can feel nothing if I'm focused on everything else that doesn't matter. See, I know that my kids are going to leave me one day, and I'm going to be married to Skylar for the rest of my life. And so I can grind through this, and this can like not be fun and not be something I don't look forward to, or I can make it something that I look forward to. And I'm in control of that. I'm in control of whether I have lots of fun or not lots of fun. And yes, he plays a part in that, but I play such a huge role in that. So when did you shut down? And are you willing to begin to deal with that? And if he broke trust, I have more videos on trust. If he watches porn and that's created disconnection, I have videos that you'll need to see, that you want to go see, on porn and what's really going on there. And what belief or fear or wound is keeping you from connection? What belief about your husband or fear about your husband or wound from your husband is keeping you from connection? And would you be willing to begin to deal with that? If you got any value from this video, or you're willing to lean in even in one of them and take a step forward in creating passion in your marriage, I would love to have like a little heart below or a little thumbs up below. And if you're not subscribed, absolutely subscribe for more content on intimacy, emotional intimacy, communication, connection, and marriage so that you can have the marriage that God designed for you.